185milessouth.com.
Smash that Patreon button.
185 Miles South, a hardcore punk rock podcast. What's up, everyone? We are back and talking hardcore, helping out. You know him, you love him. It is the best dressed man of the pod. It is Daniel Sant. What's up, Dan?
Last week, my life had meaning. It was beautiful and so sweet.
Also helping out, it is Ben Merlis, a.k.a. Ben Edge, a.k.a. Bedge. What's up, Ben?
What's going on?
And rounding us out, it is Anthony Papalardo. What's up, Pops?
I'm good. I got my striped Gap hoodie on, my Gerbeau jeans, and my floppy hair. I grew it out for this episode. I'm stoked for 92.
Hell yeah. All right, everyone. This week on the pod, we are jumping in to the year 1992. We are doing a Super 7 on the year, which means we're going to put together our best 7-track playlists for this topic, that being 1992. Ben, what is the State of the Union 1992? You've been into punk for 10 years at this point.
Not true, but so all the trends I talked about happening in 91 were continuing in 92. So I asked my friend Chad Timmerick, who's 6 years older than me, for his perspective, and this is good. I'm going to build off this. He says, Youth Crew died. I would place that around 91. Tight pants emo like Gravity Records and Abolition Records bands were taking over. Krishna Core stuff was becoming more prominent with Shelter and whatnot. There were more radically political bands inspired by Born Against and the like. I remember bands like Struggle becoming more prominent. There was a shift from CBGBs to ABC No Rio. As time went on, there was also a harder split between pro-core type bands and DIY hardcore bands, a la Sick of It All versus Born Against. Full-on metalcore hadn't really started yet since Earth Crisis Firestorm hadn't come out yet. Strife were still kind of a traditional, outspoken type of hardcore band, but when I saw them in 93, I thought they were way too metal. Grunge was starting to have an influence. Slower, sludgy bands like Downer were appearing. So that's what my friend Chad Timmerick said about 92. I will add this. The whole Epitaph thing was just getting bigger and bigger, and until the dam finally burst in 94. We've talked at length about that phenomenon. So every year building up to that, that scene gets bigger. Bad Religion and NoFX were easily playing 2,500 cap venues in 92, places like the Hollywood Palladium. Bands whose first appearance on vinyl was 1992. I have a little list. I'm sure there are many more bands, but here's a few names: Snapcase, Strife, Unbroken, Struggle, Bratmobile, Lagwagon, Rancid, Tilt, Sugar, Face to Face, and Dan's favorite, the Whitecaps. A few labels that formed in 92: Indecision Records, shout out Dave Mendel, Initial Records, Council Records, and Fearless Records. Youth Brigade, the Beverly Hills Youth Brigade, whatever, LA Youth Brigade, not the DC one, they reunited in 1992, and they stayed together until present day. The band Downcast broke up, and it was also a big year for low-top Doc Martens, pointless vests, clove cigarettes, and bowl haircuts.
Yeah, the Epitaph stuff is starting to fire, right? Bad Religion puts out their 4th LP in 5 years. And then, Pennywise did the LP in 91, but Face to Face LPs this year. The Lagwagon first LP is this year. Also, the New York hardcore stuff, Sick of It All, putting out Just Look Around, and Agnostic Front with One Voice, and then also the second Biohazard LP. Like, this is really the modern New York hardcore sound, the blueprint for it with those 3 LPs in 1992. Pops, what's your look on this year?
So from my local perspective, I'm coming off really awesome years, really exciting. Hardcore is super big, and it's homogenous hardcore, kind of tons of mixed bills. And at the end of 91, the channel closes, and there's a really good podcast about that venue and their organized crime ties and everything. And so there's like everything shifts into like kind of what Chad's quote was about, was like procore, like sort of like clubcore and DIY, and into the suburbs, into all these VFWs or whatever. And it is really kind of exciting because you could go to like a more procore show and then the next night be at like a DIY venue and see more of like Ebullition, Gravity bands. And also there's bands in Boston that are still kind of big that are supposed to be sort of like this new wave that never really happens. It fizzles out really quickly. But yeah, I don't know. It's a, you know, I have my driver's license. I can go wherever. I'm not beholden to public transportation. And, you know, being in New England, it's like going to Providence is really easy. Going to Connecticut's really easy. So it felt like I had access to all this stuff. And I guess the big thing is that wave of new age bands feeling really vital and like, oh, there's this exciting thing of people in my peer group, age group that are doing something. And also 1992, even if it's kind of an odd year, it's a huge like mile marker for me because it's like my first band plays a real show. We played with 411. So that was like the biggest deal of my young life at that time, even if the bands I was in sucked. But it's just pretty, you know, it's like these little tent poles in your life. And that was like, whoa, I did this thing, you know? So it was like exciting, even though looking back on it, I'm like, wow, it was a really fucking weird year.
That rules. Dan, what's your take? 1992, the overview.
92 is the meeting of many different soundscapes and potentially actually different scenes that before things had become more insular, there was like crossover on bills all through the 90s perhaps, but really starting here where scenes were really differentiated, but occasionally just because the way DIY is, even with procore bands, you would get these like mixed bills that would make anyone go, huh? Nowadays, but that was kind of the glory of it then. And the one thing that really kind of hasn't been touched on a little bit by that, you know, the awesome breakdowns of everyone else is, you know, you had the kind of like melodic sage music, like Jawbreakers and things like that were happening at the same time, that don't quite fit in Epitaph and definitely don't fit in like kind of just straight up like core. That's one strain that was like, I would say lyric tattoo core, you know, people that are like, oh my God, he's so deep. I've got to get all these lyrics tattooed on me. There was, you know, a lot of that happening, especially coming out of East Bay and San Francisco. But other than that, I think, Ben, is your friend Chad was that a Californian's take on what this was?
Yeah, he's from
Chad.
Yeah, he's basically from San Bernardino. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like that because just because of, you know, the things that were name checked, even though he was talking about ABC No Rio and CBs as well, but there was just some very Californian-esque things going down in that like breakdown, which was super cool. Anyway, 1992, it's got some fucking bangers, and you know, if I get what I want, I think I'm gonna have a pretty phenomenal Perfect 7.
Yeah. To peel back the curtain a little bit here, we're prepping to do 92 and then 93 next, and comparing the 2 years is pretty wild. Maybe we should talk this on 93, but I feel like 92 is not that deep, but like everything on my list is like all-time favorites of mine, where 93 is deep as fuck, but it's all bands I like and not their best material. So this year is strong as hell. I hope I get everything I want. But we will see. Dan, tell everyone the rules of the Super 7 and the order, please.
Okay, so a Super 7 is, I mean, you've been listening for a while, guys, but we're going to go in a fantasy football style thing. So pick 1 is going to be Zach. Pick 2 will be me. Pick 3 will be Ben. Pick 4 will be Pops. We're allowed to take, like, if Zach takes Whitecaps Get Beer, then I'm allowed to take, I don't know any other Whitecap song, sorry. But I am allowed to take another song by the Whitecaps, but I can't take Get Beer. And that's the way it goes until everyone has 7 songs. And then we put it up later in the week for the listeners to tell us who they think had the best 7-song playlist.
Yeah, also, there's a playlist for every episode. So you can go to 185milessouth.com, click that playlist link at the top of the page, and listen to this playlist. But if you don't want spoilers, don't check it until you listen to the podcast. All right, my first pick. It's been a while since I got to go first, and this is a great year to go first because I'm taking Bad Religion Generator. Like a rock, like a planet, like a fucking atom bomb. It's like a perfect song, very strange song, but like the melodies are great, the singing's perfect, the lyrics don't make any sense. But yeah, it's a perfect Bad Religion song. This is a jump. The previous 3 LPs, they were all recorded technically at West Beach, but this is when there's a new West Beach, and the production quality goes through the roof. I don't think it's as good, but the Bad Religion songwriting and delivery can carry through, and we can argue about their 93 record if it falls off the stick or not. But yeah, this is great. There's also a 7-inch The Generator demos that is probably on YouTube. Everyone can check it out. It's pretty wild because I believe this is a Mr. Brett song, and on the demo, he plays it all maybe with a drum machine, and he's singing. And this is such a strange song. Like, there's not really a traditional chorus. There's a lot of bridges and pre-choruses and stuff like that, but yeah, it's wild to hear like a stripped down version of it because the production is so big on this record. But yeah, Ben, was this on your list?
Another song from this album was on my list that I thought you would take, and we'll get to it when we get to it. But this is a great album. I often say that Bad Religion has gotten into the habit of making the same album over and over again, but each one less good. But going back and listening to a lot of the early Bad Religion material, Generator and before, there is stuff on this record that musically they were not doing before this record. Like if you listen to the, I guess you could call it a post-chorus section of the song Generator, boom, 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 dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, this like weird like bass thing, and then he goes, like he's breathing into the microphone, like
Yeah.
that's not a thing they ever did before, or probably even after this song. So credit where credit is due. They weren't just repeating themselves.
Ben, they heard the Rancid demo or the first 7-inch, right?
Okay, maybe I should.
It's very, very early Rancid. It's wild. Dan, do you want to speak anything on this, or?
Well, I'm not going to comment on this exactly because I think I'm taking a different song, my favorite song, off of this record later on. But I'm not gonna use my first pick on it because I have to have this song.
All right. Well, let's see if Pops, you want to speak on this, or should we shoot it at Dan for his number 1?
Shoot it. Let's go.
All right, Dan, your first song.
Okay, so I like to say No Thanks by Uniform Choice is the best straight edge song that is not by Minor Threat. And yes, I didn't take Minor Threat on the straight edge Super 7. Anyway, this is the best straight edge song that isn't No Thanks or a song by Minor Threat. This is fucking so hard, so taking a different route and tone, and this is what lots of ABC No Rio types will kind of hate about what straight edge is becoming around this time, but I do not give a fuck. I absolutely fucking love this song. And there will be no allegiance with those who turn to sin. No Allegiance by Earth Crisis. This song off the All Out War 7-inch is so fucking sick. Made even better by the Ben Reed backups of, like, you know, the parts where he goes like, to regress from purity to weakness. You know, he's got those screechy backups, especially like the on the fuck the evil bastards. Like the backup there is like, it's just like screams from hell of all the sellouts burning in hell. You know, this song is so fucking hard, and I'm a little bit more tolerant than the line, fuck all those who bent the straight edge with their fucking lies, but only just a little bit more tolerant. This song is the shit. This song is it for me. I was so excited when we were doing 92 because I knew I was gunning for this.
Yeah, it's the beginning of Earth Crisis, so that's notable. I don't love this 7-inch. I know a lot of people do. I'm pretty much Firestorm only, and that one song
7-inch. Oh, sorry. I love the 7-inch so much that I could take all 4 songs on this Super 7, but I definitely want to share the light a little bit more.
Ben, what do you have on this?
You could take all 4 songs, including For the Fetus, For the Cat, For the Cow, For the Rat. Really?
Yeah. You got to take care of those fetuses, man.
Oh my God. Ooh, pro-life bullshit. But this song, me and my friend, shout out Jason Neal. He actually, I believe he is a regular listener of this podcast. We will quote goofy Earth Crisis and Path of Resistance lyrics to each other to this very day. He did a couple of tours with Fields of Fire. And one of them is, fuck those who bent the straight edge with their fucking lies. So yeah, I'm down for this song. It's cool. It's like the last, you can hear a trace of like, oh, they're like a hardcore band before they go full metal and like never look back, you know?
All right, Ben, let's go to you for your number 1.
My number 1, because Dan said he might pick a Bad Religion song and I want to get my song in, is Heaven is Falling from the
No.
Is that the song you're going to do?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I thought Zach was going to pick it. And when he said Bad Religion, I'm like, motherfucker. But yeah, this is like, for years and years, this was like my favorite Bad Religion song. Generator was never my favorite Bad Religion album, but this was it. And I love that. What he says, thanks to King George and his rainbow cabinet, today murder is legal. God, I know that it's wrong to kill my brother for what he hasn't done. And as the planes blacken the sky, it sounds like heaven is falling. I want to say it's a Gulf War, kind of a song about the Gulf War, which had happened in 91. So this is the first record they write after or during the Gulf War. And it's just this kind of glorious song. What did you have on this, Dan?
Yeah, this is my favorite Bad Religion song out of all of them. Out of every Bad Religion song, this is my number 1. I absolutely love like you just did that part, but earlier in the song, like, you know, man, I want to be a man, but I don't want to die with a rifle in my hand. Like it's one of those songs where verse delivery almost, well, it does in fact outshine the chorus, but everything about it is brilliant. I think it's such a great song.
It does. That's why I don't think this is the best song on the record. The verses are so much better than the chorus. In fact, the chorus, I could chuck it. But this is one of the best things about prime Bad Religion is how you feel when they go into the second verse. When it comes out of the chorus and goes back into the second verse, that's often like the best part of these Bad Religion songs of this like 5-year run. And Dan, you're right that when it comes back in, it's the second verse. It's like, God, I want to be a man, but I don't want to die with a rifle in my hand. Yeah. So good. But this is a great song off this record. Don't love the chorus, which knocks it down to a 9, not a 10.
I love it. I love the chorus.
The transition, like melodically, from the verse to the chorus is like it's a little strange to me. And as someone that I just like those nice major chord progressions, doesn't get me in the right spot.
There's a George H.W. Bush quote about, that's the father, about 1,000 points of light. It's just some bullshit, like politicians.
One of
they
his
run,
speeches, yeah.
Yeah, they run on some, they just come up with nonsense shit like that, like 1,000 points of light. So there's a lyric where he says, "I've seen 1,000 points of light, like so many points of hatred, shame, and horror." And then the guitar's like, "Wow!" It's like, hell yeah! So many emotional peaks in this song.
Yeah, great leads. Pops, let's go to you for your number one.
Shoot. I'm gonna go. My number one pick will be Jawbreaker, Chesterfield King.
Oh man,
that's what. Yeah, which is an odd pick for me, but I love that record so much when it came out, and I like a young Bukowski reading boy. I thought the lyrics were so cool. Like this whole story. It's kind of too long, but I don't know. I think Bivouac's kind of a slept on record in the catalog. Maybe because there's some noisier songs and like a lot of bass driven ones. But when I was going into this, I was like, okay, what were in my Case Logic? Like what was in the Case Logic case in my shitty Ford Escort at the time? And this was definitely in there. And I'm sure there was many sad boy drives home where like I put this thing on and was smoking vicariously through Blake and thinking if I pulled into a parking lot, maybe I would find some wisdom or something. So yeah, that's what I'm going with.
This is a great Jawbreaker track. Yeah, it just bounces back and forth like they do so well between like that mid tempo and the slow. Just back and forth, and his vocals sound perfect. It's a good pick. Dan, it sounded like you might have had this one.
It's one of two that I'd shortlisted. I agree, Bivouac is very slept on. I mean, there's only a couple of skippers on there, but it comes out the gate so hard, and then this is track 3, I believe. So good. Like, yeah, I echo everything Pop said. Like, this is great. And then, yeah, there is that weird thing around this time where you just thought, man, Blake is our Kerouac, man.
Totally. It's like, but the thing is, like, there's a lot of people with tattoos of these lyrics that still think that, and I don't know, that's cool too. But I was also like 16 at the time, but it's definitely library core.
Yeah.
Holy shit, it's going to be back to me. Ben, do you want to speak anything on this?
Yeah, I was listening to this album today because it's probably my least listened to Jawbreaker record, to go back to both your point. And it came to my attention that a Chesterfield King 12-inch came out the same year, I guess before the Bivouac LP. Do any of you know if it's the same recording?
I believe it is, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and this is a slept-on record, but this is not a slept-on song. This is definitely a song. When people talk about their favorite Jawbreaker songs, always comes up in the conversation. And it's a good song. I mean, it's not one of my favorite songs, but I can see why people love it.
It's Ben's least likely album to listen to in the catalog, but most likely album cover to fap to. Okay. And we go to me for my number 2. Let's see. I am going to take... Ooh. This is rough. Dude, this year rips. Like, my 7 are hot. I got about 10 that I want. Like, need. But my number 2, I am taking... I seen some change so fast. It was in a flash. Will their sincerity last? Yes. It is Outspoken, A Light in the Dark, one of my favorite LPs of all time. And we've talked this on the pod a bunch, but I can talk it all day long. This is the first track on the LP. It sounds so iconic with like that one guitar going by itself. Dun, 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 dun. And it's strange because many people will say that Paul Miner is a hero, and Paul Miner is a hero for rescuing this overall record by remixing and remastering it for the Indecision discography CD. And I agree with that overall, but there is a lot of personality in the original mix of this record. Some of the dynamics are a little stronger, maybe for the worse, but since this is like the version that I grew up listening to, I love a lot of stuff on here more. Just it goes from so soft to so loud when it kicks in. And then, yeah, this is like the most sincere sounding lyrics ever. And it's one of those things, not to go to this metaphor again, Dan, but it's like these lyrics are, if someone else delivered them, they might be cheesy sounding. But like the way these are delivered and written, they're just like so close to falling off the stick, but they're not. And so they're perfect. I don't know.
It is the cordless mic makes it more sincere, I think.
I don't know. And
I have an anecdote for this.
Okay, let's do it.
So a member of who would later go on to a noisecore band came up to me. I did a zine, and he bought my zine, which was really nice, and to spend $1 on my terrible zine. And then he came up to me during the show and said, "I can't fucking believe you said that record has good production. Have you fucking heard that thing? That thing sucks," and started yelling at me. And maybe, yeah, to his credit, sure, but like, I don't know. I just love that record, and you have to say something, right? And I don't know. I like how it sounded. It sounded cool to me. It was like a front to back record that I would play all the time. And when it was done, I was like, I wish there was more songs on this record. So that was my first real life comment section. And maybe it prepped me for life in journalism, getting yelled at by a noisecore dude.
Yeah, it's an interesting album, right? Because it's not slow and it's not fast. It's like that slow fast, the majority of it. It's a little more up tempo than mid tempo. It's great. It's definitely of the time, but it holds up, and yeah, it's a full LP and very listenable. I make it through the whole thing without skipping anything and love the thing and want to listen to it again. Ben, what's your take on this, or are you going to pull something off it later?
I just might pull something off it later, but this song is great. I had to learn it to play, as if it was like so difficult and so aggravating. Learn the song on bass to play on tour with Amendment 18. I love, it's totally the anthem of like, you know, fucking sellouts. I'm still here. I'm still fucking straight edge. Like, but yeah, you're right. It's well done. And I believe it is on Spotify now, and they broke it out, and now it's back to the original album art and track list. But I believe it is still the remixed Paul Miner version, because on track 2 you hear him say "Come on," which is not in the OG mix. So I think if you just listen to it on Spotify today, that you're getting the Paul Miner version.
Yeah, and that's one thing I wish was cut out of the newer version.
I like that. Come on.
I do too.
I love that. Like the yeah is so perfect, and like by itself, it's so much more iconic, I think. Dan, do you want to speak on this, or do you want to go to your number 2?
Well, I just, this is another one that was on my list of potentials. So, you know, it's a bummer that I don't have it, because it is so good. I love the part where it builds up and just goes into the, you know, breaks out a light in the dark, like the actual part. Like, it's so of the time, but so powerful still. So fantastic.
You mean the chorus or the end sequence?
The end sequence.
Yeah. Da, 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 da. The best part is when he goes, in the.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's one word per break, and then he goes in the.
Yeah, and it's a little bit understated because he knows like I'm getting away with putting 2 in there.
He's definitely winking at someone when he says that. He's all in the points and winks at someone in the front row.
But
I love it.
yeah,
Dan,
so
take your
good.
number. Your number
Yep.
2.
Number 2. Who does number 2 work for? All right, I'm trying to go offensive, defensive. I don't know which way to go to secure. You know what? I'm going to take this because I don't want it going to someone else, and then I can fight for one of the other ones next time. I am going to go Just Look Around, Sick of It All, the title track to the LP. If you want to talk about this song, it is so awesome the way that they're like basically bringing up the fact like, hey, all of us as poor people who are struggling should, you know, or even just humans who are struggling, not even necessarily, you know, but it's an anti-government not taking care of humans and humans being utilized to tear each other apart for difference instead of coming together over common ground and goals. But it's got such a dark groove, almost like a almost hip-hop influenced delivery from Lou, and then it's just got perfect NYHC production and backups. But the dark groove of like where Pete is like being minimal with the guitar over the bass and drums, like driving the song, it's fucking perfect. And it's just, and I love like when it comes into the backups and it's like Lou's like almost like dancing over them with "Take a look around, so you will see." You know, like it's just, yeah, it's fantastic. This is for anyone who writes off Sick of It All because of, you know, years and years of procore. Fucking wake up, listen to not even old Sick of It All. Listen to Sick of It All. You know, first 3 albums, and just bow down at one of the best bands ever to do it.
This is so good. This is that 92 New York hardcore bounce. It's here in its prime now. And you're right, like I don't know if you'd call it a bass break, but definitely when there's no guitar and it's just the bass with like the bounce, it's so good.
I can see Lou doing his arms with that, like the way he puts all 4 fingers out in front of him, and it's almost like a hardcore version of like the yo 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 with your hands. I don't know. It's like I can see him doing it, like singing this song right now.
Well, and we've seen that In Effect video like that comes out around this time, right? And they're playing some big rooms, and it just feels like they're writing, knowing like they're playing shit that like that guy in the back of the room can like bob his head to.
Yeah.
So sick. Pops, what do you have on this?
I don't know. I think when you're a band that kind of from the jump is iconic, and to come out with a record that's different but not like a departure. It's not a departure record, but it's different, and it's like they're flexing different muscles. And kind of to what Dan was saying, like they were definitely the meat and potatoes procore like big club band, but no one, it's like you have to go see Sick of It All. Like everyone's going to that show because they're just that fucking good. And I think also one of those bands that from the first note, you're like, they're professional, not in a shitty way, professional in a way that they're putting on a show with, but not like, it's not choreographed, right? Like they're there to do this thing at the highest level. And that's really inspiring. And it's crazy that they just were able to just continue to build off that. And yeah, I mean, that's a banger track. There's almost not much more to say.
Ben, do you want to speak on this, or do you want to go to your number 2?
I'll go to my number 2 because every time I speak on Sick of It All, you get upset. I'm gonna take Bedtime by the band Lifetime on the debut album by Lifetime, which is called Background, and it came out on New Age Records. This is the one where, okay, at this point, Ari is like a straight edge dude, X's his hands up, but he's still reminiscing about the time him and his friend Frog were walking through town, drunk as hell. Like you can tell that's the part where all the straight edge kids sing along, drunk as hell, which is kind of ironic. And he talks about falling asleep in some rando's flower bed, and it's like, I don't know. I've never been drunk before, but I'm totally feeling this song. Like, I totally feel like the nostalgia coursing through it. And then musically, it's the best song on this album. I often start this album on track 6, which is Bedtime. And it's a very different album than if you only know Lifetime from, Hello Bastards or Jersey's Best Answers. This sounds like a different band. It's way more like they're like breakdowns, and his voice is totally different. It's more kind of emo-y. It's really hard to think of another band that's doing this exact formula on this one Lifetime record.
Ben, is this like when people were talking back then about new school hardcore? Is this the most new school hardcore record ever?
I don't know. Like, because there's, I mean, the first Strife 7-inch, I don't fucking know. Like, what's the biggest departure from like 80s hardcore is what you're asking?
I think the Vision
I don't know,
of Disorder demo.
It just has like every trope of the time in a cool way, like from the graphics, like to like the graphics, the presentation, the lyrics, the actual music, like it just feels very like we're doing something very different. And I don't know, I think when something's very emblematic of the time, a lot of bands try to do it really shittily, kind of like, like all the Quicksand clones. And I feel like a lot of people were trying to tap into what Lifetime was doing in a really shitty way. But I don't know, when I think of that time of like, there's a new style of hardcore, I think of Lifetime Background.
Yeah, and I totally know what you mean. Like Campfire, for example, that would be like a band trying this style and like kind of failing at it. And like, the cover of this record is a color photograph of a bunch of like, I guess they're sunflowers. It's like there's flowers on the record cover. They're the De La Soul of hardcore, man. No, I don't know. It is very much of its time, and I think the band doesn't look at this record with much fondness, but I can go with this one. And this was remixed too years later, the way the Outspoken one was, and it's a great improvement. I loved it the first time, but the remix version is a great improvement.
Yeah, I don't love this. It's a little too emo-y for me, although I do respect that they tuck in like fast parts out of nowhere on this record, but I never go back to it. Dan, do you want to speak on this?
Hey, man. He went to sleep in a flower bed. Bedtime. Yeah.
All right. Pops, let's go to you for number 2.
Okay. So this is kind of it's not loophole-y, but before Quicksand puts out Slip, they had this promo single with Dine Alone and Can Opener. And there's supposed to be the sticker says pre-LP mixes or whatever, but they don't sound any different. And then there actually are other versions of those tunes around, but they're not on that 7-inch. And that thing, it was kind of cool because at that time it was like, such a big deal to sell out. And someone put out that Moondog 7-inch with their album promo, like selling point, like marketing thing on the back or whatever. So it was like a big deal to some folks. And I thought it was kind of a cool response to give away this 7-inch at shows. I got that 7-inch at a Bad Trip show. So I'm going with Dine Alone. And I remember Azim reviewing this and slagging it, saying, oh boy, they went from talking about coded messages to singing a song about eating alone. What the fuck is this shit? And that's what I like about it. Like it's this kind of, groovy tune. They're kind of doing two things at once. You know, they're like very influenced by Helmet, but also there's like some guitar layers. They're like stretching out a little bit, and you know, of that time, it's like, let's not be literal. I guess all my picks are these like very entry level me, right? Entry level abstract, different ways of storytelling, getting away from like, you did this, you did that, you fucking suck. I kind of like I'm feeling the art books and the literature section at my local Barnes and Noble. And so I really love this track. And I think it's one of the best tracks on a very perfect album. It
Ben,
comes
what
out
do
a
you
year
have?
later.
Ben, what's your take on this?
This is a great song, and that is a total loophole. This is on the album that comes out in '93, but you know, all good. You're not breaking any rules. I'm actually
7 inches 92, dude.
You're right. I'm looking at it right now. It is 92. I'm reading this book right now by Dan Ozzie called Sellout, and he starts with the chapter on Green Day and goes forward into time. And this is clearly a band that signed to a major label before Green Day did. Although they are not traditionally a punk sounding band, but he picks a bunch of bands later on in the book that aren't traditionally punk sounding either. So he should have just started with Quicksand is basically what I'm getting at. They're kind of like, I mean, when people say post-hardcore, I don't know what they mean now. They probably mean a lot of things now, but there was at least a 10 or 15 year period of time where saying post-hardcore just meant you sound like Quicksand. Like it's just bands that sound like Quicksand. And so, you know, listen to the Masters do their thing. This isn't not my favorite Quicksand song ever, but it's up there. It's definitely their best recording, I'd say, like the Slip LP. Walter's always clever with his lyrics, and musically, this is one of those things where in the streaming era, I don't know if I would have ever gotten into it because it took me like 7,000 listens to figure out like, oh, I actually like Quicksand now, and seeing them twice, like, and them breaking up, like finally I get it. Like it's like cracking a code. And nowadays it would just be like next, and you just click the next band that comes in your release radar. Like this was a slow burn for me, but it paid off.
Dan, what's your take on this?
Fantastic. I love this and what's to come. It's just such a sound of the time and a vibe and a groove. Yeah, Quicksand rules.
All right. I am going to take my number 3. Fuck. I don't know, dude. I guess I can't deny reality as life gets smothered. I'm taking Punishment by Biohazard.
Oh, shit. I was going to take that next.
Da, 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 da. So good. It reminds me of our 2022 year end, like talking about that Speed song, the Every Man for Themself, like writing a creative riff and then just milking it for all it's worth. Like they got the intro out of this riff. Then when it kicks in and it gets to the bounce, it's so good. And then an underrated part of this song is they're like building to that mosh part, like where it's kind of like rappy metal, but they're making you wait for it. And they're like milking this riff, and then it kicks in the da 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 da. So good. And then whatever that line is about nowadays, everyone's smoking crack or whatever. So sick. The majority of people are smoking crack. Like,
Yes.
fuck. Really? Majority, huh? Well, that is something. But yeah, this song's like all time.
Brooklyn was hard.
Dude, this is like one of the only like 4-minute plus songs that's not Iron Maiden that I love, you know, and I just never get burnt out on it. Like, I don't know. It's just a very special song. And the music video is like all time. It's probably the best hardcore music video of all time. Like, everything about it's great, you know.
Have you ever seen No More by Youth of Today?
I have. And this is better.
The hand on the shoulder is God tier moment.
Fair.
And better production value.
I'm not a diehard Biohazard fan, but their hits are hits, and this is the hit to end all hits. So I'm stoked it's on my list. Pops, you want to speak on this?
I'm pretty sure this is the song that the Nuge refused to play in that VH1 Rock Band show. I rewatched it. It's on YouTube. It's pretty incredible because they're like, they're all learning songs from each other's bands, right? And the Nuge refuses to play. I think it's Punishment because it's not in the key. And then there's like this huge Sebastian Bach's like the mediator between Evan and the Nuge. And I just thought that was a tender moment. And I think any song that fucking loser won't play rules. So it converted me to a Biohazard fan.
Dan, I don't know, but this sounds like it might be a Patreon series that we need to dive into. What do you think?
Oh, I watched it as it aired.
Oh, me too. Me too. But it's been over 10 years, right?
Oh, yeah. Let's get back into it. What did they end up naming the band?
Democracy, dude.
That's right. That's right.
So good. So everyone, look for the Democracy breakdown on Patreon. It's coming. It's coming in February or March. Dan, let's go to you for your number 3.
So I am really fucking pissed off because I literally was going to take that one next. So maybe I'll have a different Biojammer later down in the list, and I will hurt you the way you have hurt me. And I am going Agnostic Front, One Voice. I almost went New Jack, but I'm going One Voice. This is the start of... Well, this is basically the ramp to set it off. This is AF coming back after being crossovery to just being giving you the fucking hard style. Like, this is so good. Stood strong through right or wrong. Fought pain with time and hate. This shit is unfuckwithable. One Voice, I think it does get a lot of love for what it is, but I still think it is incredibly slept on for what this album really gives you. And, there's we've talked about that. Is it relative? I can't remember, but the NYHC video that has Sick of It All, Agnostic Front, and Gorilla Biscuits on it.
In Effect.
And the In Effect one. And GB is just a fucking Traversham mockery. And AF are fucking great. All of them are in camo. It's hard as shit. And then, they're blasting out some One Voice jammers and also this could do with, like albums get remixed. This could do with a little bit better artwork. Like give us a non-tanged out album cover and I'll be happy. But this is unfuckwithable. This is One Voice, Agnostic Front. What you think?
Well, I believe that our last episode was an entire episode dedicated to this. That's either going to be, it will have already aired or it's airing next. So we go way, way into it then. But yeah, this song's great. The backups on this song sound absolutely perfect. And coming out of that chorus, like that Matt Henderson solo, coming out of that second chorus is so good. I actually like the art on this because it's a concept record. It's the rare hardcore concept record. But yeah, I guess for a prison photo, I hate to say it, dude, because Roger does a 25 to life voice, like or Rick takes Roger's voice, right, and cranks it up to 13. But the 25 to life record, Keeping It Real, that's a better prison album cover. But that photo of Roger's chest on the back is great, like the heavy tattoos. I don't know, the layout's awesome, and I like the cover. But yeah, that Keeping It Real cover is, if you put that on this, whew. Yeah, let's see here. Pops, do you want to speak on this, or should we go to Ben for his number 3?
All I'll say, it's peak prison metal. That's it.
Hell yeah.
It's the
And that's a fucking compliment.
Yeah, this is the 92 is it should be wrapped in barbed wire and thick iron bars because it is a very prisony year.
Ben, number 3.
Number 3. By the way, prison metal. I'd like to take credit for coming up with that term to describe music that sounds like this. Just let's set the record straight. It has stuck at least in our little group chat. So maybe we can spread it out to the world, and it can fare a little better than 1.5 did. We'll see.
As they would say, Ben is the herb that came up with that with that phrase.
Oh yeah, East Coast people love the term herb and 9-ball. I'm gonna go with Outspoken Daydream. This is the song I thought that Zach would pick as his at least number 1 or 2. This is the one where you hear whales. It's like this buildup of guitars, dun, 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 and then it stops and you just hear whales go, woo! And it's like such awesome animal rights lyrics. I see a world where animals are free. I see a world full of sincerity. It's sort of like, it's basically like, oh yeah, I just I picture a universe where people where people are not cruel to animals. Well, I'm just daydreaming. That'll never happen, So something to think about. But I love the guitar, the acoustic. It might not even be an acoustic guitar.
Clean channel.
It might just be clean channel electric guitar with heavy on the chorus. Do dee dee doo dee 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 dee. I'm just daydreaming. So good, so ill. Holds up still.
Yeah, it's always neck and neck. This song or A Light in the Dark is my favorite song, and I think it's the number 1 and the number 3 track. So they're way early on the record. Although that This Machine Pushes On song is a late banger. That's probably my 3rd favorite on the record. Let's see here. Dan or Pops, you want to speak on this, or should we go to Pops for his number 3? All right, let's go to Pops for his number 3.
I'm gonna go with the lead track on a 7-inch that the aesthetic defined a lot of bad things, but this is an example of it done right. So I'm gonna go with Leave by Heroin from what people call the Paper Bag 7-inch. Mm-hmm. I saw this band, I think it was the summer of 92, with 1.6 band, Grey House, Dive, and a pop punk band. I think they're called 49 Reasons. And they were the highlight. It was a really good show. It was in the basement of a church that actually a year later, Strife would play the upstairs of the church. And there was like 800 people and it was psychotic. And yeah, I don't know. It's like one of those little snapshots where, hey, there's this new thing happening. But actually, when you listen to Heroin, they're actually kind of going back to earlier hardcore and kind of flipping it up in an interesting way. And I think, I don't know, it's probably the best. I like Heroin a lot, but I think this recording is the best stuff they did. And it's just a ripper of a 7-inch. And yeah, I don't know. I had to pick something that had that like super DIY weirdo aesthetic, and it took me a long time looking at the cover to even know what the fuck it was, which I thought was cool. Not like, I think the name was never that rad, but not in like I don't know. It was just kind of like, all right, that's a little too much, but it's a little OD. But yeah, I needed to pick something that was this other branch of what was happening at the time, so I'm going with that jam.
Dan, did you go to PB High with any of these dudes?
No, they're a little bit older than me by the time I'd moved over, but I couldn't escape being around this kind of stuff, like the Gravity stuff and a little bit later the start of 31G. I really love this 7-inch, and I'm glad Pops took this because now I can maybe free up something because it's getting some shine. It was going to be on my list. I really love the the entire thought that goes into a lot of this gravity stuff, especially Heroin. I know as a young edgeman, I hated the name, but I still, couldn't help but like it. And San Diego having its own sound, but so many of the bands not sounding the same, but all sounding like San Diego is such a unique thing for this year, these years, like 91, 92, 93. Like it's so wild. And Heroin were at the forefront of a lot of the way San Diego was being ingested across the country and across the world,
Yeah, this is rad. Super punk. I think it, as an outsider that never dove into the scene, I kind of lumped it in with like the noisy, emo, screamy type stuff, but I don't know. Much like I'm not a fan of the Revolution Summer stuff, but I think Rites of Spring is super punk and rips. This is kind of like, I guess, the Rites of Spring of this for me, even though it's probably a terrible comparison, and go fuck yourself, everybody.
No, I can see that. Like a lot of this scene it's not like Revolution Summer, but there is a vibe where it is actively not trying to be like other hardcore out there. Do you know what I mean? So I do see you picking that up as a valid point.
Let me see for my number 4. I'm taking the first song on a lot of records. I think it's because I love a lot of records from this year. And sometimes, I've said before on the pod, like when I can't decide a song to choose, I like to take that first song because it gives you a vibe for the whole record of what's to come. That feeling of dropping the needle, that feeling of popping a CD in the car, whatever. And yeah, I'm going to take the first song off the Bastard LP, Misery. Dun, 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 dun. Bastard does the best job of just being like a 1, 2, 3, 4 riff band, and like it's so brutal the way they pull it off, right? If you took it not as a sum of its parts and broke it all apart, you'd be like, oh, this is actually really generic, but for some reason, like it just works, right? Like a lot of the riffs will just be da 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 da, and it's like the drummer, he's playing fast and he hits the cymbal on every downbeat. It makes it so powerful, like those two working in tandem. It's just great hardcore. And this is a song that has the intro on it. So it's just a rager. This whole record rips. Very hard to not take Dear Cops, but this song is just a tiny, tiny bit more iconic, I think, because it's the first song on the record. And yeah, this whole LP, I am a Japanese hardcore poser, but this LP is one of my favorite LPs of all time. And yeah, I absolutely love it. Dan or Pops, do you have anything on this?
Well, it's interesting that you say like first songs usual go-to, but in this era of 92, like 1990 through like 1994, a lot of the last songs are the epic ones as well. And now that Bastard's on the list, I probably won't go there, but I was going to pick Truth, the last song on the record, which is so fucking good. But I mean, you could throw a dart and get a good one off this LP.
So good. Okay, Dan, number 4.
Oh shit. All right, I'm gonna have to do it. I think
he's going Pennywise. Stand by me, people.
I think I'm gonna have to tell you that I've always been crazy, but it's kept me from going insane. Crazy but not insane. Warzone offer only the strong comp. Such a fucking ripping what?
It's such an insane pick because it's like they already put on the LP years ago.
Okay, then
it's fine. You can take it.
Edit this out then. I won't go there then. But the reason I was picking it is because I listened to it like 5 times in a row at work.
It's so good. I mean, like, take it on your list. It's on the Only the Strong 92 LP.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
And
I'm not taking it now because you made me feel bad. But
it's on the
my favorite part about it, you edit all this out, but my favorite part about it is the part where he goes, "I've always been crazy, but it's kept me from going insane." And then he goes, "I'm going insane."
Well,
That's the main reason I wanted to pick it, just to talk that line.
The other lyrics are Waylon Jennings lyrics or whatever. That's the Raby's ad lib.
All right. Well, okay. Number four pick, right? I'm going number 4. I am going March by Avail off of the Satiate LP.
Ooh.
I absolutely love this song. It starts really, really rad with this riff, and then the riff drops away, and then it goes to this almost like it's a march. It goes to like a military, Civil War, like whistling Dixie type march thing, but then it's the kind of thing that Avail address so well because they are in Richmond, where they're actually dealing with rednecks coming to shows and like not just like fucking dickhead skinheads or whatever. They're dealing with like people who are saying the South will rise again and like shit kicking around mosh pits and stuff like that. So this song is so brilliant. It has this amazing refrain at the end of the song, let go of the hatred in your soul. And it's sung beautifully. And then I believe they have Cinderblock from Tilt come and sing on it with them. So there's this awesome female voice that sings at the end of the song with Tim Barry singing it. And it's just such an awesome, like, punk, like, classic. I don't know. It's so weird. There's not much on the Satiate LP that I would, like, ride for, but this song in particular, and it is a first track, is so good. I absolutely really, really love it. And I love Avail. Avail's power would go on to be much better on the next 2 LPs, or the next 3 if you like Over the James too. But this one, this is the definite standout from this LP for me.
Yeah, I never had this record, but I am familiar with the song. It's a great song. It sounds like it's a song that inspired Against Me's career. It's very in that vein.
It's a band that did, for sure.
Well, how about that? Zach got another thing right. Ben, you want to speak on this, or do you want to take your number 4?
I rarely go back to this album because it sounds bad, but I think they might have fiddled with it in recent years for its benefit. Is that true? I mean, the cover art looks different now on Spotify. So does that indicate that they remastered it? I don't know. I just listened to it a little bit right now and it sounds good. So I am going to go back and listen to this first album. For my
what did you think of this? Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask Pops because he maybe saw them a bunch in this year.
I thought they were a band that I saw them before I heard them, and I wanted the record to sound like them live a lot more, and then later, kind of like what you said, like they would come into their powers later, I think.
Yeah.
My biggest takeaway is, how the fuck did they become the patch band? Like, they definitely sold more patches, or more patches were created than records, and to a point where like the Avail patch was a trope, and there would even be like procore dudes that would have Avail patches. Is such a strange little, I wouldn't even say a footnote, such like an omnipresent thing, the Avail patch. And just of all bands, like, it's not like they have a particularly compelling logo or whatever, but yeah, I don't know. They're such an of the time band, but also one that lasted too. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, they were definitely battling Food Not Bombs for patchcore, like Food Not Bombs patches and Avail patches going head to head on the same zip up sweatshirt.
Put some respect on Os Rotten's name, dude. No, but they were the band that Epitaph fans liked that weren't Epitaph, right? So that's why there's so many patches. And then also like Propagandhi was like the one Epitaph band that like the non-Epitaph fans liked. So there's a little yin yang there. Ben, let's go to you for your number 4.
Yeah, for my number 4, I am picking a perfect song front to back. It's so perfect. It like every lyric fits like a puzzle piece, and it is the song Dot by the band All. So All is, the band that formed out of the ashes of the Descendants. It's basically just the Descendants with a different singer. At this point, All is on their second singer. So they had Dave Smalley. Yeah, that's how it goes. And now they're at Scott Reynolds, singer number 2, who I think is the best of the 3 All singers. And it's just such perfect witty lyrics about like, it's essentially a heartbreak song. But he says, back at my house, there's nothing on TV. Bathroom mirror, cast confusing, looks from me to me. And it's one of those songs where it's very easy to learn all the lyrics, like the way Gorilla Biscuits phrases their lyrics on the Start Today LP. It's like, it just makes it like they do it in such a way where, you don't just get giant blocks of words that you're never going to remember unless you concentrate really hard. It's like you listen to this song, 5 times, which is easy to do because it's such a perfect song. And pretty soon you're singing along and you realize you know every word. It's kind of this, it's almost like an old timey, like not Singing in the Rain, not musical theater, but like dun, 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 dun. I don't know. It just reminds me of the distant past, and I can't put my finger on it. And the single artwork is really cool looking. The album it's on, Percolator, is not very good. But that's how it goes with All. It's with this band, it's hit and miss. It's mostly miss, but man, when this band hits, if you put together their best songs, you could just pretend that they're one of the best bands that ever existed. Just ignore all the duds.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this at all. That's why you heard me playing it. But everyone, I'm going to check it out on the playlist, and you can too. 185milessouth.com. Click that playlist link at the top of the page and check out the music we are talking about. Dan, what do you have on this?
Nothing. I have never given All a chance at all. I don't know why. It's a massive blind spot. I've always, because as the Descendants were coming to an end, I didn't, it got a little, I don't know. I just like early Descendants stuff more, so I never really went into the All world. I probably should, and I will listen to this on the playlist.
Pops, do you have anything on this, or do you want to take your number 4?
I'll do both. I think All are kind of like a restaurant with a really big menu, and you have to know what to order because most of it's dog shit, and it's like overly complicated. But if you know what to order, it's like the best meal you've ever had. Like they just have tunes like this, buried into some jazz fusion that I like what Ben was saying. Like I don't know how to describe it either. It's almost like just very simple traditional songs done through this punk lens or something. And they're one of those bands where you kind of know in 15 seconds if the song's good or not. And after that 15 seconds, it's an earworm. And yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic song on a kind of not fantastic record with absolutely not fantastic artwork that almost looks like that Black Flag reunion record in a way.
What the?
Yeah, what the? Okay, for my pick, I'm going to go with Into Another I'll Be Damned. And along with just liking this band, even though they're not a hardcore band per se, I think what I really like about Creepy Eepy is that first Into Another record, there's definitely like a lot of rock tropes on it. and you could tell it was written over a period of time. Like they started in the late 80s, and there's some Judas Priesty stuff, and it's kind of like, it's cool. I like it. But I think on this record, they kind of lean into Bad Brains a lot more. There's another track that literally has the same riff as a later Bad Brains song called On Like Popcorn. But yeah, I'll be damned. The reason I chose this one, aside from it being in my car forever, is just, I think it's pretty brave for someone like Richie Birkenhead, who's known as this like macho ass kicking icon, to write this very a feminist song that knows its audience, you know, like it's confrontational to the audience, kind of like, yeah, I did say I would fight you a million times in Underdog, and now I'm kind of like spitting this totally different idea, which is very of the time, and I think that's really cool. So I don't know, I went with that one. Yeah, that's all I got on that. And also, I think I saw that band like 400 times in New England in like a 2-year stretch, just because they played all the time. And so, for better or worse, they will always just be this, again, another tent pole in the 92-ness of this episode and my life.
Ben, what do you have on this?
Motherfucker! Yeah, this is so good. Like, yeah, great lyrics. It's pretty much heavy metal music, but I love heavy metal, so no problem there. I always feel weird about picking Into Another or Shudder to Think songs when we do these Super 7s, because they're so just like not punk music at all, but like they are my favorite shit. So maybe I might just join you and jump into the fire that you hear at the beginning of this song with the acoustic guitar playing over it. When one of my turns comes around again. This is a weird year for Revelation. They only put out 2 records. This, a 4-song 12-inch by Into Another, or is it a 7-inch? I can't even remember.
12-inch.
12-inch. The Creepy EP, and then they put out the first Farside LP, and that's it, which is a very slow year for a band that a label that usually just cranks shit out, or what at least at that time was. I was obsessed with Rev and and I would pore over the Rev catalog, wondering what everything sounded like in those pre-digital days. And this is a band like Quicksand that took me a really long time to get into, and because I love all the previous bands, well, I never got into Whiplash, but like, you know, I'm a huge Bold fan and a huge Underdog fan. I just forced myself, I have to figure this band out, and then I did, and I'm glad I did. One of my favorite bands ever. One of the best live bands I've ever seen.
That's great. I didn't that Whiplash LP, the 85 one, the Power and Pain, is like maybe my favorite thrash metal LP ever. Unless we're counting Master Puppets. But yeah, Dan, you want to speak on this, or should I take my number 5?
Well, the thing I feel about Into Another is either it's like Avocado or Marmite or any of those things that you either just love or you can't stand at all. And Into Another is one of those bands. Everyone who loves them fucking loves them. Everyone who doesn't fuck with them can't stand them. So, you know, that's my take. I
don't have an opinion because I don't want Richie to hurt me. Okay, I am going to follow up with my Biohazard and Bastard picks by taking Face to Face Disconnected.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Nope, it comes after that. I believe it's in the 3 slot after. That's the first song, and this is one of those. This is one of those punk LPs where, God, I wish I could cut the first song off it, because the first song on this record sucks so bad, and the second one is so good. But then it gets even better. Go into this song. This song is so good. They put it on. I cannot remember. It's like 11 records or some shit. Do you remember? It was a question. Ref, do you remember this?
I think it was
answer?
10. I think it was 10, which makes me wonder why you picked it for 92, because you could pick this for so many other years too.
And maybe you will.
But that's true. I might pick it 9 more times after this. No, this is the first time. I don't know if it might have even been on a 7-inch before this, but I have no idea. I think that No Authority was a 7-inch.
No,
So this would be
this is on the Doctor Strange LP, and then when they jump to Fat, they release it as a 7-inch on Fat at the
right.
like almost like as a single from the LP type thing.
Okay, so this is the first time it's on record,
Yeah,
which is why I'm picking it, Ben. And yeah, it's a perfect little pop punk song. Nah, you don't know what you will give up. Nah, so much of this record is hard to listen to for me now because I just picture, dudes in bowling shirts. But this song still transcends all that and is great and needs to be on my list. Dan, what's your take?
I mean, yeah, the song that launched 1,000 goatees.
Goatees, chain wallets, and bowling shirts, dude. It's all right here.
Yeah.
Here's the impetus.
Yeah. The thing is, like, they came from this like metal background, and then they honed how to write like a 2-minute 30-second banger. Dealing with like whatever melody they were using in their former metal band, and like just synthesized it perfectly for like pop punk with, SRH, wife beaters and long Dickies shorts. Here you go.
And we should specify not metal like we're talking about Whiplash. It's butt rock.
Yeah. That's why I was talking about the melody in.
Right. It's like Poison metal.
Yes, exactly.
And I actually don't know. I might be talking out of school there. I don't really know. That's just what I heard is they were a butt rock.
That's the kind of metal they were playing.
Pops or Ben, you want to speak on this, or should we go to Dan for his number 5?
Yeah, I want to speak on this. Dan mentioned at the beginning of this episode about how there were a lot of mixed bills in 92. And one of the mixed bills I saw was Spanky's Cafe face to face with Guttermouth, Voodoo Glow Skulls, and Millions of Dead Cops. And it was just a fucking insane show. I mean, at one point there were more people stage diving than people to catch them. I mean, like more than 50% of the audience was in the air jumping onto the rest of the crowd. Like it was just it was one of the first like smaller punk shows I went to, and it was like, God damn. And I didn't understand Face to Face at that point. Maybe I just wanted to hear anything that was hard and fast, and they were very melodic. And then a couple of years later, I realized, oh, this band is great. And that is a great pick, Zach. And I considered picking it myself.
I don't think that's that mixed of a bill. It's like the 90s punk bands that are Epitaph adjacent, plus like one token old school band. Like that's kind of what a lot of the shows were. I don't know. Maybe I just never really considered that mixed. It just kind of seems like right in the pocket, early 90s punk.
Okay, how about this one? Well, this is probably a month or two later, so it's technically 93, but Hong Kong Cafe, Guttermouth, Voodoo Glow Skulls, and Spit Boy. How about this one? Econochrist with FYP. That was 92. I went to that. That was Hong Kong Cafe. I don't know. It just seems like...
Those are both pretty punk, right? Those are not shower everyday bands.
I'll raise you, Buzz Oven, Into Another, Rancid, and Dismay.
You win.
Yeah. Finally, someone dropped a mixed bill. Okay, Dan, what is your number 5?
Okay, so I am gonna go to the start of a band that means the world to me. And going back to these songs, like you think that they're not that good. And then in the, build up to this, I listened to this a bunch and fucking hell, these songs are great. I'm going with Pain They Face by Unbroken. It starts with the chug and then it drops to just the acoustic guitar, which Abananda would do a couple years later, which I absolutely love as well. But, I love that chug to clean acoustic picking and then back into this. And what's so awesome, obviously Unbroken were very influenced by Integrity in this period of time to an extent. Eric and Steve are both extremely young kids right now while this is being recorded. and they're both playing like they're not playing the same thing. Both guitars are doing different things, and they're doing really clever, intricate, like awesome stuff. Like it's everyone get on this playlist, listen to this song. It's fucking awesome. The lyrics are basically what I've always understood it as is looking at, houseless folks and looking at the lack of like paying attention to that kind of thing in your normal life with your privilege. And this is like addressing this back in 1992. Really cool. It has a little bit of a straight edge slant because it's like, I disregard all the struggles. It's looking at maybe addicts on the street to an extent, but it's a wake up call to like actually have some empathy for people going through it. Like it could also be regarded as maybe like a Border-esque song also because it's coming out of San Diego, perhaps. But it's really a fucking great song. You Won't Be Back is also awesome. Like lyrically, it's touching on, almost like like abuse in relationships, but on a like a almost high schoolish level, like in what they're seeing of peers or something. It's very good. But this is really just an amazing start to, demo aside, we're not going to talk about the demo. This is like the start of Unbroken, and I really love how 92 it does sound with the vocal cadence on some of the parts. But I think that really adds to it because it is of this time where lots of bands were doing the his constant fear that calls, so like that kind of ... like 11:34 Unbroken style, like lyric bouncing ball like lyrics at the time, or following vocal cadence, I mean, not lyrics, at the time. I love this. It is of the time, but it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, this is a sub 3-minute opus, right? It opens with just the drums by themselves. Very Cry Tough, like the first song on the first Poison LP. And then, cuts out and goes to that acoustic, which is, very Descent Into from Integrity. And then, it's cool. And the cutout before, like the breakdown, of cutting out and just doing the single guitar riff. Yeah. It's sick. There's a lot of stuff in this era that's like kind of demoing what Earth Crisis is going to knock out of the park in 93 on the Firestorm 7-inch. Like there's a lot of stuff here that's kind of, I don't know, proto that, and Earth Crisis is kind of working on it too, and they're the one that's going to do it perfectly, and Unbroken is going to do a little different lane of metal hardcore.
They even stole the Flames, dude.
Right? There you go. There you go. Ben, do you want to speak on this, or Pops, do you want to say anything on this other than that?
I don't know. I think this record, like, it's a cool contrast to kind of what I was saying before. You have Heroin doing these like handmade, very personal looking layouts. And then you have to think about at the time to come out with this like full color VHS horror movie looking cover. It was very striking. It was like, wow, that's professional. I want to buy that. Holy shit. It was like really impressive marketing at the time. And it was one of those records where everyone bought it. You know what I mean? It was like really striking, and then everyone had an opinion on it. And I think that's like a very cool bookend to how different things were happening in sort of the same scene.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And the fourth New Age song on the playlist so far, I believe. Okay, Ben, you want to speak on this, or you want to take your number 5?
Yeah, I had the other song, You Won't Be Back, as an honorable. I think this is a good 7-inch. I know that this 7-inch and the Snapcase 7-inch, a lot of people who are fans of theirs will say, but no, not the first 7-inch. I'm a fan of theirs, but not the first 7-inch. And it's like, these 7-inches are good. Like, of course, both bands get better as time goes on, but it's not like these records are. They make it sound like they're completely different bands. I mean, I guess with Snapcase you have a different singer, but like this record is good. Like it's fine. It's totally like of the time, new agey kind of moshy hardcore. It's fine. It's good. I have the poster on my wall. Shout out Rob Moran.
Dude, those Snapcase vocals on that 7-inch are hilarious.
They're really bad.
They're real. It's funny. It sounds like a character. We can get into it in the honorable mentions section.
The free home of the brave.
Yeah, we'll get into it. Ben, number 5.
Okay. Well, as far as Unbroken is concerned, pretty good, right? No, I like it.
You are correct. You are correct.
Also interesting for a band like this to have a single. You know what I mean? This is not an EP. It's 2 songs. Kind of rare.
But it's also like the year before this, Outspoken does like a cassette single, right?
Yeah, that's true.
They do a single for sure.
Right. Yeah. So that's even stranger than a 7-inch single. But okay, number 5.
Number 5, I'm going to go with. I gotta go with. Fuck, this is tough. Okay, the band Current from Dearborn, Michigan. They have a song called "Come Down." It's on their debut 7-inch. They are very much in the kind of molded in the image of another band that was around much earlier than them called Moss Icon, who I guess was still making records by 92, but was kind of on their way out, and Current was a new band. But there's this whole strain of, I would call it emo core, which is, it's definitely emo, but it's also definitely hardcore punk music. Bands like Chino Horde from Arkansas, bands like Indian Summer from the Bay Area, like all over the country, there's bands mixing kind of hardcore punk. Well, then again, hardcore punk and emo were at one time the same thing anyway, if you take it all the way back to Rites of Spring. But anyway, that there's kind of a heyday for this specific sound, which I would place around from about 92 to 95. Embassy from Galita. And it's like, it's very easy to ignore this. It's very easy to be a lifelong fan of hardcore music and just not think about this stuff at all and have this never come on your radar. And when it does, I suppose it might be easy to be like, oh, I don't like emo, as if this stuff has anything to do with Fall Out Boy, or whatever crap that came in the subsequent decade, which it absolutely has nothing to do with. So Current is a great band that uses a lot of the same imagery as Moss Icon. I jokingly call it archaeology core because it's a lot of like ancient artifacts and ancient civilization dwellings on the covers of the records. Matt Wakes, the singer, is incredible. At this point they have 2 singers, and the more singy guy leaves after the first 7-inch. And I've heard people criticize that guy like, oh my God, they had that horrible other singer on that first record. Doesn't bother me at all. I like how the vocals bounce off each other. Very poetic music, obviously emotional. Maybe Pops can talk on this. Were you ever a Current fan?
Totally a Current fan.
Okay.
I felt like at this time there was sort of this, I don't know if it was unspoken because, a few years later you have that Triple X comp, but it's like a bunch of kids who maybe had their foot in the end of the 80s who were trying to do something new. And it was like, we're straight edge, we're hardcore. And maybe all the people weren't, but it was kind of like unspoken. It's like we have all these values, but we're going to do something new, and we're kind of digging into different sounds, and you have to wear like a short sleeve plaid shirt too, maybe have dreads, but also like it was also kind of cool that all those like Current not included in this, but like a lot of bands would happen really quickly. It was like we're doing this thing for a year, and then we're breaking up, and then we're doing another thing, then we're doing another thing. And it just felt really vital. Like, I remember a lot of shows at that time where you would be like, oh, this Fisticuffs Bluff is playing. And then you get there and it's like, oh no, now they're called fucking some other random name or whatever. And you're just as excited. And it was, I don't know, I guess it's just kind of, not to be oldie timey, but in that world where like you're often seeing bands that you had never heard, it felt exciting to just see what was new, you know? And yeah, I don't know. It's a very weird thing because a lot of what people reference that I don't like is coming from bands like Current, but I still think it's kind of what you said. It's like this little forgotten pocket of this interesting thing, and I don't know why it gets called emo. I think it's kind of lazily what happened, but it's also very hardcore and aggressive, but just in a different way. And that especially when you're in your teens, that's really exciting, I think.
That rules. Pops, let's take your number 5.
Cool. Number 5, I'm going with another San Diego band. I'm going with Drive Like Jehu, Bullet Train to Vegas. I really like this band. I think this single is one of my favorite things they did. It's super fast. It's super unhinged. It's one of the, again, it kind of goes back to my library core thing. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Like, I think the lyrics reference turds and stuff like that. It's just a very like, it's not like I was connecting to it lyrically, like, oh, wow, what cool lyrics. But it was more this whole presentation. Like, I thought the cover of the single was cool. I knew the band, and then I got this record, and it was on Merge, which I liked Merge because of Superchunk, and I'm like, that's really random. And it's just noisy and cool, but it's a rocker. If you have preconceived notions about Jehu, I would say listen to this tune. And then the only other thing I'd add is that I believe it was 2002, but I could be wrong, when Mission of Burma reunited. They played their first 2 shows in Boston, and John Reese from Rocket and Jehu was there. And they played this song. It's not on one of the LPs. It's like a B-side song. Shoot, let me see it's called He Is, She Is. And he was by himself. It was a very weird thing. And he looked over and told me, we ripped this off for Bullet Train to Vegas while they were playing. And then I heard it immediately. And I just thought that was like just such a random, like, this fucking dude is there by himself. We're seeing this thing we never thought would happen. Much akin to like the Red Sox winning the World Series at the time, very Boston moment. But anyways, to go back to the tune, it's just a ripper, awesome tune. And, you know, a lot of people had said that like the San Diego sound that people equate with like emo or screamo or whatever was an amalgamation of Drive Like Jehu and Nation of Ulysses. And so for my 92 list, again, going back to what was in my car, I had a bunch of singles on a cassette, and this was definitely flipping back and forth.
This is my favorite, like, tempo of mid-tempo. It's like as fast as you can downstroke. It rips. Mm-hmm. Dan, do you want to speak on this, or should I go to my number 6?
Oh, I love this. I love Jehu. I love this era of like going into Yank Crime, because I feel like they are, I don't know, challenging each other as all 4 members of songwriting, and you get gold like this, you know, following that first LP. So love it.
Hell yeah. I'm going to take a song off One Voice. I am taking Your Fall. This is a perfect hardcore song. It's just verse, chorus, breakdown. It's that old school formula. You know, it's the Victim in Pain formula. It's the Youth Today formula. It's all that best shit formula. And it is so good because here is AF kind of doing a harkening back to an earlier sound, but with like that modern recording. And the way that Roger just dances on top of like this music, like the lyric delivery is so good. And of course, we talked earlier, the gangs on this record just sound perfect.
Yeah.
And then it's a straight up perfect hardcore song. You can't trim 10 seconds off it. You can't add 10 seconds to it. There's nothing I would change. It is straight up perfection. It is my number 6. Dan, was this on your short list on this album?
Yeah, this would be my number 3, New Jack being my number 2. But, Mortar Mix for nothing but dimes.
Dude, lots of great lyrics on this album. Like, it's so awesome. And that's why we have a whole episode dedicated to it. Either last episode or next episode. What's up? Okay, let's go to Dan for your number 6.
Okay, my last pick you described as a opus in under 3 minutes. Well, I'm taking an opus that is 10 minutes and 10 seconds long.
No.
Yeah, I have to. This song is just incredible. Bivouac by Jawbreaker. It could easily be around this time, like it could be almost a song by Slowdive or Ride or even early Verve, but it's too East Bay, it's too Kerouac-y. But the parts where it's like, mother, oh my God, if that doesn't get you in the fucking feels, like, it's unbelievable, the way that it is. And then it evolves into a second song that is really, I feel like really pushing the boundary of like allowing like this crazy like musical part to be intersected with samples from like a documentary, and it works really well in that way. And then it starts to build again, and they just scream "Bivouac!" and it just culminates so well. But the chorus of mother, father, and I was a very angsty, not had the best relationship with my dad or anything like that, and this just got me over the line of like, someone out there gets me. I love it.
I don't know if I've ever made it far enough to get to that part. This is no Rime of the Ancient Mariner, that's for sure.
It's up there with it,
dude. You almost said it's better. That's insane. We're pulling your Brit card. Pulling that Brit card.
It can't be better because there's no sea shanty in this song.
It has no cue the missed bass part.
Yeah.
Pops or Ben, you want to speak on this, or should we go to Ben for his number 6?
I'll speak on it real quick. I think Jawbreaker kind of falls into this weird like steampunk category, kind of like dudes that bum me out. And a song like Bivouac is it's what Dan said. It's like they're doing all these other things that are super interesting, and I think like those kind of tunes that they do, like if you think like I picked Chesterfield King, this is the same record. Like you couldn't be more polar opposite, and I think that's a very underappreciated like part of that band that they could do. And I think like in the world we're in now, everything's so focused where like I don't think a band could have a record like this. You know what I mean? Like, or even all like you would just write a bunch of dots. You wouldn't have like the jazzier tunes. And I think in a weird way that makes a physical thing that you're listening to more interesting, but whatever. That's just like, that's how I like to consume music. And I like that there are kind of these tunes that you can dig into a little more with Jawbreaker. And I don't think they get credit for that side of the band.
They should get credit for at least putting the song in the last slot. You know, like that would have been so rude if they put this as like the number 2 track.
I almost stated that you would be glad that they put this as the last song because you love to say, well, you can end the album before you get to this.
Yeah, I mean, like this is, you got to have it on vinyl, dude. There's titties on the cover. You know, and I don't want to fight for this song in the 2 slot. Put it last.
This is a 10-minute song, so Ben could fap at least 6 times during.
I'm feeling really uncomfortable because the titties are on an animal, so this is weird to me.
A skulled out animal.
Yeah, it was very Donnie Darko. Ben, let's go to you for your number 6.
Yeah, I think the only time I made it all the way through that song was getting a ride to see the Dodgers with some classmates of mine around the time we graduated high school. And the Dodgers played the Cubs, and it went into extra innings, and the Dodgers won. So Zach would be very happy about that. I'm not really a baseball fan.
Can I please ask both Ben and Zach to really properly listen to this on the playlist then? I can't believe you both haven't really checked this song out. It's amazing.
Well, if I still smoked weed, I'd give it a shot, but I'm sober now, Dan.
Just do it for me, please.
Okay, I'll check it out on the playlist.
I'll do it for you. You're going to check out All, and I'm going to check out
That's right.
the longest Jawbreaker song ever written by a factor of at least 2. For my number 6, I'm inspired by Pops' Into Another pick. I thought I sometimes shy away from picking very strange and not traditionally punk picks because I've been scarred forever by Zach putting the hammer down on our top 100 of the 80s and top 100 of the 90s and top 100 of the 70s lists. But
first of all, it was the ghost of Tim Yohannan, not me.
Okay, I'm scared of the ghost of Tim Yohannan.
Thank you.
I'm shaking in my boots, and I'm still going to pick this song. I'm picking the band Shudder to Think, and the song is Shake Your Halo Down, and it is on their album Get Your Goat. This band is so fucking weird. There's a lyric about where he says, stick a fish in a tattoo gun, watch what color ink comes out. Not very vegan, but very weird. And I appreciate the weirdness. They are impossible to describe. And the funny thing about them is they ended up signing to a major label for the next record, for the next 2 or 3 records, Epic Records. And it's like, who thought that this would like become, that this band would become like, you know, the next, I don't know, I guess Nirvana is what they were thinking. But like, they're so fucking weird. How could they possibly sell 1 million copies of a record? They're so weird. But this actually, if this one song was a single on a, you know, a big record label, this might have a chance. Maybe. Because the chorus is very catchy in a traditional radio-friendly sense. But man, those lyrics, funky. Pops, what do you think? Did I pick the right song off this album?
That's the best. That might be the best Shudder to Think song other than Red House or something. Like, that chorus is so soaring and awesome. I guess what I love about Shudder to Think is I don't have a reference point for them other than, oh, the singer was a theater kid. That's like kind of where it begins and ends. Like some hardcore dudes and a theater kid, which is actually the same formula as Youth of Today, which is also weird. But yeah, that I was in my phase of just buying whatever was on Discord, and that was a challenging record for me. But when you get to that tune, it's over. Like that chorus is so rad. I actually had that on my list as a alternate. But yeah, incredible band. I also think I think I said it on here before, but the first Shudder to Think record is very akin because that one's like more metally. It's also kind of similar to Into Another, of like this Aussie-ish vocals over something maybe kind of punk, but more metally, but also not. I don't know. Yeah, it's an epic tune. And if you're not a Shudder to Thinker, I would say give that tune a chance. Give it probably. I would say it's about 30 seconds to get to that chorus, and tell me that's not a good tune.
Oh yeah, can't wait to check it out on the playlist. Pops, let's go to you.
Okay, can I just add a little story really quick because it's 1992 related and Shudder to Think related. I was over for the summer and I went and saw Sonic Youth with Shudder to Think opening. I think it was that show at Del Mar Fairgrounds, or maybe it was Smashing Pumpkins with Shudder to Think. Either way, the singer came out, started to sing naked, and then the cops ran on stage, housed him, dragged him off stage, and arrested him. And they played all of maybe half a song. But there was Ween flopping around, and it was a good 2.5 minutes.
All right, some bootlegger make that Shudder to Think Ween mashup shirt. Let's go.
Pops, let's go to you for your number 6.
Okay, no one's going to pick this tune. I'm going to pick it. It's not really hardcore, but it's off the Crawl EP, Laughing Hyenas, Living in Darkness. This hardcore elder dude that got me into a bunch of stuff and used to drive me to shows told me, I didn't know there was a post-negative approach, anything, right? And he told me, "Oh, we're gonna go see Laughing Hyenas. Do you want to go? What's that? It's Brannon." And I just remember queuing up to get into the show at the downstairs of the Middle East Club in Cambridge, and we had gotten lost or something. Like, this dude, despite being a scene elder, didn't know how to get to the club, and we got there as Laughing Hyenas were playing, and we were waiting to pay, and I could just hear this voice like shaking the wall. And then you go see this band, and they're, all the folklore is happening. Like, dudes smoking cigs on stage, everyone looks fucked up, but they're playing like what this fella described to me as hardcore influenced rock and roll. And in a way, this tune, like, I love all Laughing Hyenas save maybe the last record, but this song is just super driving. It's got an ill chorus. It's almost like a up-tempo Evacuate or something. And again, being beholden to my Case Logic, I'm picking this tune. But also, I think if you're not familiar with this band, this is like a sick-ass entry point, because it kind of doesn't sound like anything. Like, I know they were influenced by MC5 and the Stooges, but the guitar is nothing like that. And it has a ripping chorus, and he's just singing like he's in a fucking hardcore band. It doesn't make any sense. And it's like one of my favorite songs of that band.
That rules. I need an entry point for this band. I absolutely love the Easy Action, the second LP, but I never knew where to enter in on this band, so I'm excited to check it out. Dan, you want to speak on this?
Yeah, I've always thought Laughing Hyenas is kind of like, obviously Pop said they're influenced by some of those Detroit greats, but I always like lump them in my listening, like my formative like listening to this is like around the same time I was discovering like the Birthday Party and also being turned on to the Cramps too. So it's really cool, and you say it's not hardcore, but John Brannon's in this, so it counts.
Oh, that's right.
If you took the vocal track off and put it on different music, it's kind of funny that, like, this is his rock band and he's singing the exact same way for the most part. It's pretty amazing.
Well, he does those talky parts that give you that kind of Nick Cave, like, and almost like like Richard Linklater style film, whatever. All of the stuff of this time, like those talky parts work really well. Almost like Tarantino-esque also to an extent, or Robert Rodriguez early stuff before he destroyed Star Wars. But then, yeah, he launches into his scream, and you're like, "Holy fucking shit!" You know, awesome. I love that this is on there.
Hell yeah. Okay, we are going to the heartbreak round, and it is heartbreaking because I'm going to get reamed. I can tell. I'm not going to take sick of it all. I'll hit it on my honorables. So I'm sorry, Dawn. I know you're mad. Also, Sheer Terror, the song Ice Spoiler. Good God, so hard to not have that on the list. Those are my number one and number two on my honorables. I gotta take Poison Idea, Open Your Eyes, off Blank, Blackout, Vacant. I had first heard this song. They do this like mashup record with Jeff Dahl, and it was on there. And yeah, I just had it like the tracks on my iPod forever, and I love it. It's sick. It's a tie-in because I think they do the whole record as a tribute to Stiv Bators, who sang for the Dead Boys, and then does Lords of the New Church. And this is a Lords of the New Church song. Dan, what genre is that band? What's the right genre to call them?
That's interesting. It's like almost death rocky, but like I don't know. What would you say, Pops or Ben? Like, it's Lords of the New Church. It has like the, I don't know, like the nod to the the Depeches and stuff like that, but then it's also got like almost like that Laughing Hyenas vibe to an extent. Like,
is synthy goth, right?
Yeah, for sure.
What would you call it?
It's like claustrophobic death rock in a really good way. Like, that's the only way I could describe it.
Death rock was my first like idea of what it would be called, so
Yeah.
It has like, like it's not leaning into the industrial thing yet, so it's like not full like Alien Sex Fiend, but it has that creepiness to it, but it also has the sheer melody of like what a Depeche and stuff would have too. I don't know, it's really good stuff though.
Right. So like what is the guitar hook on this song is the synth on the original song. And I'll tuck the original as like the last track on the playlist just so everyone can check it out. Because if you listen to the original and think like, oh, someone's going to turn this into a punk song, you'd be like, that's going to be some serious dog shit. But somehow they pull it off and it works so perfect. Like they switch that synth to the guitar and then the chorus is just so epic and it works in the context of like being a punk song. Like it sounds just very anthemic. Like the original. I don't know. They almost do it like as a note for note cover, although just being like guitar, bass, and drums. It's wild that it works, but it works so well. And I got to put on my playlist because it is one of my favorite songs ever. Both the original and this Poison Idea version. So good. Are any of you aware of the song or know it at all?
I'm not well versed in Poison Idea, but I know the Lords of the New Church one. Also, I'm a sucker for like, it's almost like throwback to Motown and stuff where peers covering peers to an extent. Mm-hmm. I love that stuff.
It's sick too because like Poison Idea is like the punkest band, right? And like they're covering when the singer of the Dead Boys goes and does something that's like not punk. So it's kind of sick that like the punkest, like wasted life dudes are like paying homage to like this dude's full catalog. It's so ill, right? Like they're not judging like, oh, no, you're doing like that goth shit. You're like, no, the whole ride is fucking ill.
As fans, they probably took the whole ride. Like they followed him to the new thing,
For sure, because this is like, I mean, I don't know anything about Lords of the New Church other than like I own this LP for this song, but like I think it's like the third or fourth LP, and I don't think it's like the first song on the record or anything. So I think that Poison Idea is like legit fans, you know what I mean? Like they're not plucking like the one hit. So anyway, that's that. Dan, Heartbreak Round, what's your number 7?
Whew, this is tough. I thought you were going to end with a certain 3-letter word of someone who can't walk the line, but I guess I'll save that for my honorables. So I'm stuck between two because it's what, did Muldoon just attack the microphone?
No, he did attack me earlier though, and I didn't sell it. It was very hard. My left hand is a straight up ghoul hand from getting attacked, and he got my right this time, so I'm gonna match soon.
I'm really bummed that I didn't get Punishment by Biohazard, so I kind of want to get either Wrong Side of the Tracks or Urban Discipline on here, but I can't. I don't think I can leave this song not being on my list, so I might have to forgo having Biohazard on my list, which is going to bum me out because I really do want it, and those riffs launched a million records that we do love too as well. But I've got to have What Will Remain by Strife on here.
Yeah.
I have to. It's just such a good song. It around this time, like 1991, Mouthpiece is doing this kind of newer style of hardcore, which is, it's linked to being like alongside the Youth Crew stuff, but it sounds nothing like it. It's a lot more epic and it's a lot more emotion driven and driving and slower paced and all of this, but it is extolling the same kind of virtues, but in a more thing. Will Strife like hear that and then go, hold my Mountain Dew? And they come and they ramp that up to just so much faster, so much. It comes across so much more. I won't say more passionate because that's debatable, but it comes across so much more urgent. Especially this song, What Will Remain. It's fast. It's hard. It's like channeling Judge and Mouthpiece and even some of what has been described earlier, like some of the emo sounds of the time is just slightly in there as well. But this just builds up, and these lyrics are amazing. I will remain. Fucking hell. Put an X on the back of my hand. I'm doing a dive onto Reggie right now. This is what it's all about. I've bookended my list with two fucking straight edge mega bangers. What Will Remain by Strife. This is what you were referencing earlier about there's certain things that Earth Crisis were listening to and perfected the next year. Strife are a bit faster, obviously, than any of that, but this kind of like harder edged metallic like nod that was happening here then gets ramped up by Earth Crisis and then followed on by Strife coming soon. But What Will Remain, what a fucking song, right?
Yeah, Strife puts out 2 comp tracks this year. The Am I the Only One goes on the Is for Life comp, I believe, and then this is off that Only the Strong Victory LP.
Yeah.
Both songs, good songs, and both songs will be on their first LP, One Truth. But What Will Remain is a Strife staple. It's one of the hit songs, and it's perfect. It's the call and answer. It's a full crowd pylon thing. I don't think the lyrics are particularly good outside of just like it's a song written for the live crowd. It makes sense in like the live hardcore context. Like then it's all time. It's an all-time sing-along song. But like the lyrics are, I don't know. Like you waste a whole line on so what the fuck?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's all about the fucking, I'm going back to it, the titanium backbone of the I will remain. Like,
yeah. And he did for what, 4 years after this?
Hey, I will remain. I'm singing along to this. I'm taking the mic.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a great song. It's an all-time classic hardcore song, and everyone, you can go back in the archives. I believe the Andrew Klein interview is number 77. And we talk about this kind of being like the breakout for Strife, like those 2 comp tracks. Because they do the 2 7-inches, the New Age 7-inch and the Indecision 7-inch, that sound pretty dated. But this What Will Remain song is something special. Pops or Ben, you want to speak on this?
I do. This is the song that got me into Strife. This is the first Strife song I ever heard. So yeah. I got that Only the Strong 93 comp, which I guess came out in 92, but I got it in 93 or early 94, I forget. But I listened to a lot of bands I was unfamiliar with. I think the only band I had ever heard previous to getting that comp was Warzone. I'm not sure, but Strife was the standout track. It's like, this is the best song on this comp. So I listened to that one the most. And yeah, it's very judgy, and it's one of their best songs, and they probably did it as an encore more than any other song that I remember from the many times I've seen Strife live. Great pick, Dan.
How was this received? Oh, thank you. How was this received out east, Pops?
So that show I talked about, which I think it was 93, it might have been 92. It was almost a fest. It was Universal Order of Armageddon, Rorschach, Strife, Mouthpiece, Four Walls Falling, and two other bands. It was insane. And Strife only had the 7 inches out and comp tracks, and they headlined. And it was the most psychotic, like still to this day, it was the most psychotic thing I've ever seen for a band that didn't have an LP. It was like, I don't know, it was kind of like from the first note, it was, this is what we want. Like everyone in the room wanted that moment. And there's some really awesome photos of it. I don't know, to think back on a band that, without much promotion, and probably most people didn't even have the Indecision 7-inch to get that kind of reaction. It was kind of bittersweet because you felt like, oh, cool, this other moment's happening, and it didn't happen at all after that. It was kind of a outlier, but yeah, still to this day, that was one of the nuttiest things I've ever seen.
Sick.
Ben, Heartbreak Ground, what's your number 7?
All right, this is a heartbreaker because I was originally going to pick a song from the It's for Life comp. I was going to pick the one Mouthpiece song that came out this year because I ride hard for Mouthpiece. The song is Abandoned, and it was re-recorded for their LP, and I like the original version better. But I got to pick another song that was re-recorded for an LP, and the original version is better. I'm going back to the Undertow Struggle split 7-inch, and I'm picking Pin by Undertow. This is so... a lot of times Dan talks about like, oh, the song, this is one of those like walk through a brick wall, like smash through a brick wall song. Okay, this song by Undertow is like you're sprinting through 10 brick walls. And then when you get to the end, you rip off your shirt Hulk Hogan style and you go, your words will not leave me scarred. It's just fucking fast the whole way through. It's just hardcore as fuck. He's got this John Pettibone's got this low voice, but his voice is still cracking. So it's like, imagine if Civ had a lower voice, that kind of voice cracking. And it's just like, I turn my head and I look away. Your words will not leave me scarred. I think they're like, Undertow is, they're just this great, Pacific Northwest powerhouse of a straight edge band for all time. And I gotta plug our boy NWHC. Posy Chris has the NWHC podcast, which is like a radio show where he talks about all these Pacific Northwest bands, and he's played Undertow before. So this is my request. When he hears this, my request is that you play this the original Pin version, the split with Struggle, which I think if you look at it on Spotify, it's all under the discography that Indecision put out called Everything. And I think this version is the one that says demo in parentheses after Pin, the other version being the LP version.
This has a brutal breakdown teaser on the end of it. You think a breakdown's coming and it never comes. It's very similar to it's not similar to this, but I can think of other breakdown teasers, like the biggest one being that Slapshot song, on the time, ticking on a clock, tick tock. Like that part, like it's such a breakdown teaser. You're like, oh, here it comes, here it comes. Nope, we're going back to mid tempo. And this one, you're like, here it comes, here it comes. It's like, nope, song's over. But in that aspect, it is pretty sick. They just do a full fast song. Killer track. Yeah, and it's the Indecision discography of this is great. I love that Baby Blue, Ben. It's way better than Pushed Aside. No, Push Too Far, whatever.
Push Too Far.
That's right. Anyone want to speak on this?
Undertow rules, and this song is a ripper, and it is full of like brooding emotion. It's, I mean, I can't speak enough of what you two have said, and on top of the Undertow Everything comp, like it is an essential to have in your record collection. So, indecisionrecords.com, hit it up.
Hell yeah! All right, Pops, you want to speak on this, or you want to take your number 7?
I'll just co-sign that one. I mean, yeah, again, I feel like every time I'm on this pod, there's some Undertow worship, and it's well-deserved. And that track is a fucking ripper. Again, it's like it's a survival song, right? Like if there's like an apocalypse, if the animals run free, like the Outspoken song, and you're I Am Legend, you got to fucking do it. I want to hear that tune, dude. That shit's going to help me survive.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to take an anticlimactic pick for my last one. I'm going to pick the Lifetime song Ghost, and it's only anticlimactic because we already picked on Lifetime. But that song, there's cool tempo changes. I'm a sucker for interesting chords, and it's kind of Dag Nasty-ish. I don't know. I think it's like one of those tunes that it's a little faster. It hints at where they're going to go and become the band that everyone loves later. But I don't know, that band, they played my area so much, and they were just such an important band to me, and I had to have them on the list. So I don't know. I don't think there's too much to say we haven't touched on, but I think that song Ghost is it's just got a cool vibe to it. And I think, there's something about people who have a unique voice, whether it's good or bad. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter if everyone's hitting all the notes. If there's a character to what they're doing, I think that's really cool. And yeah, I love this track, and I went back to it and I was like, wait, am I tripping? Is it as good as I remember? And I was like, oh yeah, it put me right back into that shitty Ford Escort and depressed teenager mode, and I really dug it.
That rules. Ben, how does this stack up against the song that you chose?
I mean, it's up there. It's a great song. You're right. It is very dynastic because it's got those ringing out, the E and the B string. Mm-hmm. Man, and it's got some good tambourine in it too. And if you look at the layout of the Somewhere in the Swamps of Jersey, you can see the where they have the recording notes and the boxes, like what each track is. And there's one that says tambourine, and I'm like, I knew it. I knew he was playing some tambourine on that fucker. But yeah, it's great. It's almost like you can tell it's like a guy who's obsessed with DC hardcore and a guy who's like an NYHC stan, like coming together and making like the ultimate fucking mashup of those two styles for this shit. Cause it's like, why wasn't Discord putting out shit that sounded like this at the time? I don't know. Like the actual DC bands weren't playing stuff that were this kind of like, I mean, if you take out the vocals, it's traditional hardcore music. The vocals are more, God, for lack of a better word, emo. But yeah, it's incredible. This is stuff I could listen to this every day. It's one of those things where it's like, you have your top 10 records or top 50 or 100 records ever, and you look at it and you're like, but how many of those do I really want to listen to like on a regular basis? Well, this is both of those things. So great pick.
Hell yeah. Okay, honorable mentions. Let's see what I got. Yeah, Sick of It All, Shut Me Out, Sheer Terror, Ice Spoiler, Pennywise, Stand By Me. Before there was Bro Hymn, the song slammed to the most was Stand By Me. When the night... And then when it kicks in, good God, it's one of the best circle pit parts of all time.
And I believe on the solo he says, "Do it, Fletcher."
That's true. It's very Stigma-esque.
Yeah.
Love it. Lagwagon, Angry Days, maybe the best pop punk solo ever. Strife, What Will Remain, Got Taken. Verbal Assault, Tools and Drugs, I believe is 92 off the Exit 10-inch. Undertow, Words of Fire was a song I would have taken. NoFX, Bob. Shout out to people that sound like Bob. Or that sound like Fat Mike. Sorry, Dan. No Use for a Name, Thorn in My Side. Let's see here. Lagwagon, Angry Days. Yep, said that already. Earth Crisis, All at War. Jawbreaker, Tool song. Cro-Mags, Eyes of Tomorrow. Very of the time. Rules. That song rips. Green Day, 2,000 Light Years Away. Sick of It All, We Stand Alone. Outspoken Daydream, Ben Got It. Bad Religion, Fertile Crescent was my backup off Generator. Bastard, Dear Cops was my backup. And Mouthpiece, Abandon. Ben alluded to that. But it should be mentioned. And Dan, let's go to you. Honorable mentions.
Wander by Heroin. I alluded earlier to Bob being on my list. It's a fucking track. I fucking hate Fat Mike with everything that's in my soul. But you know what? Bob is a track. Even the fucking stupid trumpet part. I've got to give it up. That is a fucking track. So Bob is on the honorable mentions. Also, All Out War, Earth Crisis, Ecocide, Earth Crisis, even Standby, Earth Crisis.
Boo.
Shut Me Out, Sick of It All. What's Going On, Sick of It All, as well as We Stand Alone, Sick of It All. Like, oh my God, this LP is amazing. You Won't Be Back, Unbroken, Words of Fire, Undertow, Freedom from Fear, Zero Tolerance, New Jack, Agnostic Front, Heaven is Falling. I wish I had that because I really love that song. Red, White, and You by Struggle, Urban Discipline and Wrong Side of the Tracks, Biohazard, Punishment, R.I.P. I didn't get it. Is Beauty a Crime, Outspoken, Shield Your Eyes, Jawbreaker. I'll just leave it at that. 1992 is really fucking good.
Ben, honorable mentions.
Oh God, here we go. Strap in.
favorite bass players in 1992.
Shelter, Quest for Certainty, Chino Horde, Merit, Face to Face, Don't Turn Away, Into Another, I'll Be Damned, Pop's Got It, Far Side, Worlds, Lungfish, Friend to Friend in End Time. Joan Jett covered that song. Outspoken, my alternates were A Light in the Dark and Is Beauty a Crime. Bad Religion, my alternate was Generator, which Zach got. Split Lip, Cry Wolf, Jaw Box, Static, Mouthpiece Abandoned from the It's for Life comp, Ashes, Raging Water from the Serenade cassette, Earth Crisis, All Out War, Youth Brigade, 1 in 5, Snapcase, Crown of Thorns. We'll talk about that a little later. Social Justice, I Refuse to Lose. Avail, the song on Satiate that goes, Satiate, Satiate. I don't know which song that is, but that was pretty good. Rhythm Collision, Now. Iceburn, Burden 2. Black Spot, A Reverence for Life. Verbal Assault, Tools and Drugs. Shout Out, World's Worst Format. Unbroken, You Won't Be Back. Endpoint, Cast. Forced Down, Texas. Gray Matter, Thog. White Caps, Salad Days. Ramones, Strength to Endure. Shout out CJ Ramone. Social Distortion, Cold Feelings. Social D, Cold Feelings. Dag Nasty, SFS. Eidolon, I don't know how to pronounce that. The song is called Cranes. And then Moondog, They Said We Were the Best. The Moondog demo got bootlegged onto a 7-inch in 1992. I didn't pick it because it's kind of a fucking cheater technicality thing, but that gets an honorable. That's it.
Pops, honorables.
Cool. So the most egregious thing of all time is that Swizz are not on streaming. And Jason Farrell, wherever you're at, if you're listening, get the Swizz box set done. I'm going 9. That song has the fucking hardest opening line. Don't patronize me with apologies, you son of a bitch. That shit rules. So then I'm just going to name some stuff that I think is available on Bandcamp. I'm not going to go into tunes, but this band called Germbox, I actually will name this song Creamy Loop, is really cool. If you like noise rock, kind of coming from hardcore, that's a good one. I believe Four Walls Falling, Tongue Twister, had Burn It that year. That's a good tune. Crossed Out had some cool shit that year. No Comment, Downsided, Lava 7-inch. The Dive demo is on Bandcamp. It's kind of a little bit like Inside Out through Masshole Vibes. 1.6 Band had that first 7-inch. And the only other thing I would say that was a very 92 band that was regional was Kingpin, and they have this recording that supposedly spanned 2 years, which I don't believe. But if you want to hear the most 92 shit to ever exist, look that up on the Atomic Action Bandcamp. And similarly to Into Another, they have a song talking about masculinity called Emulate that I think is really cool. And if you have listened this long, you can listen to that semi-power ballad for 3 minutes and get something out of it or not.
Hell yeah. All right, Dan, final thoughts, and where can people find you?
People can find me at Southport Instagrammer on Instagram, and it's really amazing to dip into these years and just get a vibe for what everything was like then, and to mentally go back to it and just know that I was slamming to Stand By Me by Pennywise also, but while also loving Just Look Around. Like, you know, what a world, what a time.
Hell yeah. Ben, final thoughts, where can people find you?
On Instagram at Cold Chillin' Book. Final thought is yet another year where if someone said, yo, what do you think of hardcore and punk in 1992? I would have been like, oh, that was a terrible year, even though it clearly is not a terrible year. It is a very good year. We have proved that succinctly.
Yeah, 93 is the worst year. Pops, final thoughts, and where can people find you?
My final thought is we have to mention a band with hardcore connects that influenced so much hardcore for better or worse. They're called Helmet. And it's kind of fucking insane to think about how much that band influenced so many things and got so many people to play in drop D tuning and make terrible music. So I'm going to add that. And if you want to find me, it's Anthony_Papa on Instagram. And that's kind of it. And also, if you vote for my playlist and show me a screenshot, I will Venmo you $1. So there we go.
Oh, wow. Hey, Ola.
That's right. Slip into those fucking DMs. You'll get fucking paid and I'll win. What's up?
I love it. Yeah, this year ruled. I don't think it's the deepest year, but it is so solid. My 7, and really there's like 10 that I needed. It is so good. And all the stuff that I didn't choose, I can't wait to listen to this playlist. Everyone, 185milessouth.com, click that playlist link and check it out. You can find me 185milessouth@gmail.com is the best way. I respond to everyone. Also, 185milessouth on Twitter or Instagram. The DMs get a little dodgier, so I can't guarantee anything. My personal is Zach Retaliate on Instagram, and you know Retaliate is the best on Instagram. Everyone, we love you all. We will talk to you again next Monday on Patreon.